Aaron's sons, right? What happened? So they ended up, right? No, but if you think about it, if you learn it in Pneumius, what they wanted to do was they were trying to tap into this love so much, they forgot to come back. But if you tap into this love of only wanting to be Hashem, what did they do? Actually, think about the story of Nadav and Abihu. They went in, they took their stuff, they took their pots, right? And they run into the Kodesh HaKodashim, which is the holiest place, which is like most intimate place that you can be with Hashem. And they were totally consumed. I love that you said that word, Essie. Totally consumed with Hashem. That literally, it says their bodies just went up. As a kid, we were told that this is like the saddest story, this is terrible, like, oh my goodness, you have to always have Yira before Ava, right? Anybody taught this story when they were a kid? Like, it was almost seen like we have to, it was seen as a negative thing, right?
But it is negative, because if everybody had this type of love, they're all gonna die.
Right, but also remember that every story that's recorded in the Torah is really there for us to learn something, right? So what are we learning from this story? And where did they make a mistake? And was it really the biggest mistake? And what do we learn from this? So this idea where you tap into this fiery love from the side of Yira can almost seem like suicidal, right? It's like, I don't need anything here. I don't want anything here. What's the problem with that? What do we know that really we know there's a problem with that?
Because we belong here.
The world was created. It's almost like the way, like,
I'm like, drum up the thing. Yeah, like, Dir B'Tachtonim, right? We learn, what do we learn?
That we have to make a world here.
We have to make a world here. We're supposed to make a world here. Everything happened for us here. So why am I saying I'm totally leaving this world, right? Like, why do I just want to escape from this world and just leave this world? So here's this idea that it's actually, I had a hard time grasping it because when I first heard this, I'm like, this is so wrong. This doesn't make sense. All I've been learning and teaching, and we've been like having chavrusas about this, is that like everything that we are doing is to be here and engage in this world, to live in this world, even if it's hard for us. Because it almost sounds like neshama shenasat, right? Like the neshama that we were given, all it wants to do is go back up, literally characterized by the fire, right? Literally like just bring me up, bring me up, bring me up. But I was told that everything that was here is we're supposed to be using it, we're supposed to be engaging it. So that's why I was like struggling with this a little bit. So let's try to understand how to tap into this fiery love. So Sheistaub gave this amazing story, like on a mashal, and I want to just make sure that, okay, his name was the Poltever Rav. Never heard of him before. He actually has a niggin. Avram Fried covers it. So if anybody wants to listen to it after. I always, when you hear a Rav and when you connect to the niggin, it's like I connected to the niggin Levi Yitzchak and then I had a baby Levi Yitzchak. Like, it's like people listen to like the Ribbister niggin. I know, right? Like when you connect to a tzaddik and you connect to their niggin, it's probably the deepest way because you're literally it's their neshama. Like you're tapping into their neshama. If you think about it now, also now that you know what song does, song takes you to another place. If you want to tap into that other place, a higher place, it goes through song. That's why I'm always talking about songs connected to meditations, because songs bring you somewhere else. So here's the idea. When he gave this story about the Poltever Rav, that he slept the last 30 years of his life, he slept on a bench in shul. Like, like that line, there's like, Pasva Melech Tochel, like in Pirkei Avos, like literally like, slept on a bench, lived his whole life there, ate meals in the shul, like whatever was available, tradition soup, just like lived like the most minimalistic life. What? Or Steinman, right. Like a total life like that, removing himself totally from physicality, and this is how he lived his life. Then it says that in the last few days of his life, he was really like lamenting the fact that he mistreated his body. And he said, if I only slept on a bed the last 30 years, maybe I could put tefillin on for one more day. And then he was niftar. And like Chassidim, like we're hearing the story and they were like so confused. It was such a paradox. Like here he is, he's the epitome of like removing himself from physicality, living on a bench, connecting, literally living that life of fiery love, a love that connects from Yira. And he was saying, had I only done this, I would have been able to put on tefillin one more day. So how do you interpret that? Like, how do you feel about that?
He was doing tshuva for something bad, like quote unquote. Like for him, it was wrong.
So that was my first thought. I thought that also. I was like, wow. He realized that he probably should have been sleeping on 100, 200% Egyptian cotton bed, linen, and then he would have been able to put on tefillin maybe until he was 110. That was like my first thought, which I think it can definitely be a point. But let's take it one step deeper.
Also, because you also live your life without like being on a bench. Like
You could find the balance, definitely, and I think that's probably the goal. Like maybe just 100% Egyptian cotton, like 2 pillows, not 4 pillows, fine, right?
Maybe you like Malachim don't have this, like, they're so close to Hashem, but they're literally with Hashem, but they don't have the tests that we have in this world. So, you know, sleeping on a bed would have given him more of a test in this world. But when you're so connected to Hashem, you don't have that.
You don't have that, right? You don't. So in a way, like when I first heard this, I was like, wow, he's doing tshuva. Like he's doing it. But then the Hasidim, they touched it up more, like a little bit, and they went even further and they said, 1 second, he might be the only person who can say something like this. He might be the only one who slept on a bench for 30 years, knows what it's like to totally remove himself from physicality and only wants to be with Hashem. He's a person who's his neshama, like A.B. Romberg couldn't sing it loud enough, like when his neshama was coming down. Like he did not want to come here. He was a person who did not want to be here and removed himself from as much physicality as possible.
Did he think that he was going to get to a higher level if he would have actually been in a bed and in a different place comfortably or taking care of himself a little bit better?
So probably not. But only a person who doesn't want to be here can make a statement like that. Only he who removed himself so much from physicality, who doesn't really want to be here, can say, bottom line, Hashem wants me to be here and put on tefillin. But I you know what's so hard for me, because all I want to do is be back up there with Hashem. But because I know what it feels like, because I know I was placed down here, I'm a person who can say, wow, I realize that you have to go up to be able to come down, to be able to go back up.
So he should have taken the most advantage when he was here?
He wasn't regretting what he did. He was just admitting that there is a part of Hashem that wants him to be down here also, and he really, really understands that, even though he really, really wants to be up there.
So why he died.
It's not easy to understand.
So for 30 years he was resenting that he was here?
He wasn't resenting he was here. He was trying to, yeah.
If I say,
Yeah.
I'm just justifying my love for company.
There we go.
He's saying it comes from
Exactly. Anybody
A
who,
really non-Jewish idea,
I
like the
know.
priests and the monks and the
but here's the
blind
thing, we always bring it back down. We always bring it back down, because
But
by
it's not
them,
the typical way.
it's
of-
not the
like,
typical
we
way.
don't want to raise our
1
children
second.
like this.
Remember, let's take it back. Let's take it back. Yeah.
So how can we take this to our
Us.
personal
Okay, fine.
life?
So let's pull it
None of
back
us are
1
gonna
second.
sleep on a bench for
Let's remember, first of all, that this is not actually real. Nobody should be sleeping on a bench. And this is only things that we should be thinking about in order to stir up love, right? Okay, so I'm always like, let's put it into that context. Just like we did with Simpson. We went into a whole thing about Simpson, and we're like, just remember, Hashem made himself small for me. I'm going to make myself small for Hashem. This is the same thing. Just remember, you don't have to actually sleep on the floor for 30 years. Even though when I first moved into my house, my beds were not ready, and I slept on the floor for 2 months on a mattress, but we were still on the floor. And then when I switched to bed, I was like, I don't even know what to do with myself. Like, I was like, what is this feeling, right? Of like not having to, it was great for like my back, happens to be, but I don't suggest it. But only a person, like you were just saying, like, if I say this, if I would make a comment like this, it's like, I really, and this is where I need to work on, and I think we all need to work on, most people look at this world and they say, okay, I love this world so much. How am I going to find Hashem in this world? Oh, I'm going to bring Hashem into this world by looking at this world, whatever. This is a person who's looking from upstairs and saying, I don't even really want to be here, but I know Hashem wants me to be here, so I'm going to do the things that Hashem wants me to do, even though I don't want to do it, even though really I just want to be back up there. But you always have to connect it back down here. So let me give you one more story. Anybody else have any other comments about this story or how they feel they can interpret it? Because it's a very confusing story. It's not like...
I think you could be like, okay, so I really want to be up there with Hashem, but Hashem wants me here. But
like,
while
talk it out,
Hashem
talk it
put
out.
me here, I might as well enjoy it a little bit. But I really want to be up there.
Well, the earlier chapter said the whole goal isn't to be a tzaddik.
Right.
Your goal is
So
to
this
be
is, like Mary prefaced it, this is a tzaddik. This is the poet of a rock. He is a huge
The
tzaddik.
end of the story was basically to teach tell me that you don't have to sleep on a bench.
That's actually it. He was telling his Hasidim, you don't have to sleep on a bench. He was giving them like a little like wink. Like, for me, this is what my body was able to handle, for what I was able to do. But yes, really, if I slept on a bed, maybe I could have had the koyach to do it one more day. But this is obviously what my neshama, like, I'll further this one more. There's another story with the Vilna Gaon, like also when he was on his deathbed. Everybody drops like big stories on their deathbed. And on his deathbed, he was like clutching onto his like talus, and he was saying like, and he was holding on to it, and they're like, well, what's holding on to it? Like he was very also calm, peace, like it was a very peaceful moment. He said, in this world, I could buy this for a few pennies, right? And I could wear it and it could bring me to the highest places. But in the next world, there's no pennies, there's no talus, there's no way else for me to connect to Hashem. I'll be one with Hashem. But I know down here, at bottom line, it comes down to this. It comes down to this world, being able to work things out in this world and do the things that we need to do. So he was kind of leaving his Hasidim like a parting gift, saying like, every neshama, by the way, has ways to connect. But if you want to connect to this fiery love, you have to be able to go down, to be able to go up, to be able to come back down. Okay? Any other, you want to answer? Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about, like, let's say you have a relationship with a child and Hashem. So Hashem, like, for you yourself, you don't need to sit there and go to slow or take like a physical thing. But and then you come to us like, I don't need this, and you're like, Hashem wants me to do this with my kid.
Ooh,
Like,
so
sit
you
down.
come back. Right.
Yeah. So like,
So
yes,
good.
I'm gonna go to slow. I'm gonna take her for manicures. I'm gonna, do them.
Oh, can we take Vina to the mall? I need to go to the mall. But you know what? If I connect the mall to Hashem, then I know.
Like, I know my purpose is for Hashem, but actually Hashem wants me to sit there and give it to my child or to my
So
spouse who
good.
needs that vacation that I don't need, but my spouse needs it. And that's what Hashem wants me to do.
Well, what
right
if
now.
I-
you need it.
What?
Go for it. Go for it. Then you're in chapters like 34, 35, 36. You're in your B'tachton. It depends. You're like, wake up in the morning, like, what chapter am I opening up today? Like,
Because we don't need it and we remove ourselves, those things, sometimes Hashem wants us to do it. Not the vacation you need, but let's say the thing that you don't need, right?
because we don't.
Concept of it, like the
Right.
concept
I
of
know
it.
we didn't come at a place of like we
You
have
don't
this
need-
physical urge. How are we going to make it not about ourselves and bring Hashem into it? I thought that's like what we were.
So it is.
Discussing
It's
the
there's
whole time.
many layers of it.
Can you
It's,
give like a concrete example of what?
okay, so I'm going to give you a story. By the way, I'll end with this. Not about me.
Like
a personal story.
something more concrete for us.
Okay, so there's a story. His name was. He's what? Where does this class go? We're also. Okay, Das, bring it back in. Moshe Rabbeinu, it's his yard side. Let's draw it down.
Saying,
Okay.
like, why do we need these things? So like a house, right? We're in a bigger house and this, and we're like working so hard to get it, and like soon like she is coming or we're gonna die. Like, do we really need the house? But like right now, that's the
Certain things to help you serve Hashem in a better way.
right. So
Right.
we have to use
Those
that.
are earlier chapters. Everything is here to serve Hashem. Yes. Okay, so let me say this story. Okay, maybe this story will make it more sense. I told you I probably should have had a chavrusa job with Paloma yesterday to like fully understand this, but here it is. Okay, so he gives the story, and I forgot the chassid's name. His first name was Ruvain, and he was a Chabad chassid. So he tells the story of this yid who. His father was a big tzaddik, and they lived in Eretz Yisrael, and he maybe was a little bit of a tougher father, but anyway, he instilled certain things in his son that his son rejected it all and said, I'm out. This is not for me. And he went and he like moved to like Yishuv, and he got a tractor, and he was like the best tractor driver ever, and he had a farm. Maybe he was in Gush Katif, I don't know where he was, but he was definitely like living his ultimate life by not connecting to Hashem or Yiddishkeit, but just connecting to the earth and being very much in tune with this world, but not in a bad way, but just like really, not like he hates Talmidei Chachamim, being very much immersed in this physical world for finding the beauty, not planning on finding Hashem there, but just for the beauty of the land. And then at some point in his life, even though he rejected it all and everything, somebody had him, oh shoot, I'm forgetting the details of the story. He ended up by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, okay? And when he got there, he decided he felt very, very connected to the Rebbe. He ended up in 770, and he started learning in the yeshiva. And he became like the best Talmud in the entire yeshiva. And he would meet with the Rebbe, and he would have like Yechidus. Do you know who this person is?
Yeah,
No? I'm like,
I
yeah.
do, and it's driving me crazy. I'm like, what? You just told me, and that was my father. Or that was
Really? Right. His name is like a famous last name, and I forgot. And anyway, he becomes like the best. He becomes, maybe it's from Shei's Taub. I heard this from Shei's Taub. Maybe you heard him speak. So he said, so he became the best Talmud, and he was very, very close, and he had
It
Yechidus.
reminds me of
A different story.
Zakatinsky.
Yossi gave a story?
No, what she did. His
Oh,
wife.
really?
Yeah. It sounds the same.
Maybe it's the same. Maybe you could help me fill the details. No. So he becomes a very big Talmud in the yeshiva, and he's learning. I know it's like insert king, insert like the Lost Princess, insert like, the Rebbe, like somebody. Okay, so he's learning with the Rebbe. He becomes very, very close. He has Yechidus with him, and he's star Talmud, huge Talmud. And then at one point he's having these Yechidus with the Rebbe, and he goes to